CNN is the worst news network to ever exist on the face of the planet. My goodness, guys, you'd think they catch a hand at a certain point. They're not only their ratings going completely down, but nobody trusts them. And it's because of their lies they've been spewing about Donald Trump, the lies they've been spewing about conservatives and us, like comparing us to Nazis and calling him Hitler. It's like at a certain point, you think they'd just be done, but nope. Now, because Trump alluded to the fact that this plane crash that happened in DC, tragic by the way, may have been a DEI situation with baseless evidence, we're going to sit there and call every Trump supporter racist, try and propagate all these narratives that might not be true. And it's completely ridiculous. We have this guy trying to defend his position in a very polite way, and they just will not have it. They want to spew their propaganda. They want to spew their nonsense. And it's absolutely ridiculous. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to Resist the Mainstream, because it ensures YouTube that you're enjoying our videos. And in that way, they will continually show up in your feed and it'll push it out to more people. I'm Titus. Let's get into this video.
Here's what I know. I know a number of people who voted for Donald Trump for the first time. They were so disgusted in what they felt was happening in the Biden administration. I talked to many of them this week. Instead of talking about the economy, I was fielding questions on whether or not the Trump administration wanted to stop commemorating Black History Month, Women's History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month.
This is the directive at a lot of the agencies, but DOD today put out a memo saying no more celebration of history months.
Or Holocaust Remembrance Day, or MLK Day.
So I was fielding all of these questions. So when people said that they voted for Donald Trump because they were concerned about, the price of eggs and all of these type of things, because of Donald Trump's own doing, we're having to have this conversation about DEI. DEI, for many people, and I call them the woke right, it has become a stand-in for being Black and unqualified. And what I would like for the Trump administration to do, Susie Wiles, I love her, never met her, want to meet her one day. I want them to ask the team, what was our message coming out of this week? And if they say that they felt as if it was successful, then we're going to have a very long 4 years.
Can I make a...
What is the woke right? What do you mean the woke right? Honestly, DI has become that. That's literally the purpose why we are not opposed to Black people. I hope not. I'm freaking Black. I'm not opposed to Black people being in positions of prominent positions of power, moving up in a company. Like, we want that. But we don't want to get a job, at least me specifically, and people on the right. I don't want to ever get a job because I'm Black. I want to get a job because I was qualified for it and I was the best person for that job. That is the problem with DEI. And that's what we mean when we say it. The reason why they think that if there was for instance, a Black pilot on a plane and it crashed and they would blame DEI is not because he's Black, but because you guys have put programs and systems in place infiltrating your business with DEI standards that have to be met. So regardless of whether or not there was someone better, you want to put this person in the position instead just because they were Black, because you needed to hit a quota or something. That's the problem. I want to be chosen because I'm the best or because I'm right for the job. Maybe it's just, I don't understand. I don't understand how you can't grasp that. Oh, it's utter nonsense. I feel like it's just intentional stupidity. You're trying to act as if you're you're so unaware of the reality of what we've been trying to say. We've been trying to say it as clear as possible. We should meritocracy. I should get the job because I'm the best for the job, not because I'm Black.
Good provocative argument here. What if Donald Trump also won because of the people who think that Black people and trans people and women are taking things that belong to them? Isn't it possible that he actually won for that reason, and that they don't think that this is a messaging, change of course, but
it doesn't represent the majority of those.
But they could very well think that this is the course that they are supposed to be on.
Yes, I think this is what economic anxiety has sometimes been euphemized to refer to, that people feel like they're losing their status in society and maybe their ability to climb up the socioeconomic ladder, and the easy scapegoat is the Black and brown and people and women who are taking their place, who are robbing them of their opportunities. One thing I want to add to this discussion, besides the career effects on people of color and women and other groups, other underrepresented groups in government, among other positions, who may suffer because of the comments that Trump made about DEI causing these plane crashes, is that Trump surrounds himself with lackeys who have historically been shown that they are motivated to sort of backfill and retrofit evidence to fit whatever his predetermined conclusion is. So if we want to prevent tragedies like this from happening again, I would not trust whatever investigation they put together, because Trump has already determined that the cause of this problem is DEI. If there is something else that's lurking here that could put people at risk again, we may not find out.
I actually do. I've talked to a lot of aviation experts this week. I have confidence in the NTSB. That is a gold standard agency in this country and honestly in the entire world of aviation. But I mean, to her point, I think there are questions about whether this is going to be a witch hunt for the evidence to support this claim. They are going to be hunting down the people who fit the DEI narrative in order to prove, he was right all along.
I think I'm alone in this group. I think I'm kind of afraid to be alone in this group. I surveyed these people. I focus grouped them. And they are really, really tired of being accused of either racism or sexism because they voted for Donald Trump. And it's one of the reasons why so many of them did. I sat on this stage with you and got chewed out when I suggested there's a better language to reach out to voters, that the Harris campaign is missing what they're looking for. And I say the same thing here. Americans just want to be Americans, not hyphenated Americans, not female Americans, black Americans, Jewish Americans. They just want to be Americans.
How do you think it makes people feel, black people, women, any person who has immutable characteristics about themselves, to be told every time that something happens that because they exist in a particular role, it is their fault? How does it make them feel?
How does it make people feel when they're told that they're a racist?
No. I mean, answer. But answer my question.
I am, because these are predetermined considerations.
But no.
You were going
you're
to
assuming. You're telling me I'm.
Do you
calling
want an
you,
answer?
Well, you're not answering my question. You're telling me.
Yes, I'm trying to.
You were telling me
Actually,
that
your response is in bad faith. I mean, what she is saying is something you're not responding to, because it doesn't address why Donald Trump immediately went to DEI as an explanation without any evidence whatsoever for what looks to be an inexcusable and certainly a very devastating and tragic plane and helicopter crash a couple of days ago. And instead, you pivot to talking about how terrible it is that some people who voted for Donald Trump are being called racist and sexist. You're refusing to grapple with the central tension.
My understanding.
Frank, it's an option.
Hold on.
Frank, it's an
because
option
my
for
understanding
Trump.
is of the voter.
Frank,
that is what I do.
It is an option.
What about
for
the immorality
Hold on.
and the incompetence
Frank,
of
it's an
blaming
option
DEI
for Donald
for what
Trump.
happened?
You guys can all jump on me. That's fine.
No, I'm not jumping.
Okay, it's ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. He said we don't need to be hyphenated Americans. We need to just be called Americans because we are Americans. We should be getting things based off DEI is getting blamed, regardless of whether it was DEI or not. I'm not totally sure. The fact that that's an option, that could be a reason for why something bad happens, because you place someone in a position because of their skin color, or because of their gender, because of their orientation, as opposed to them being the best person for the job, who would be able to do the job better, to making sure that someone who would actually capable of doing that, being in that position, could have avoided whatever the bad thing that happened was. That's the problem with DEI. It's not the blacks. It's not, unfortunately, because of DEI, people will see a black person in a position, and yeah, they will think maybe they got it because they were black. Maybe they did get it because they're a woman. Maybe they did get it because for whatever reason. And that's the problem. That's why I didn't like DEI to begin with. That's why nobody on our side wanted DEI to begin with, because we didn't want to get something, to earn something, and one, doubt in our own minds if we got it because we were the right person for the job, because we were the best for the job, or other people to think that about us. Do you know how sucky that is? To get like some prominent position, to get some sort of promotion, and to just and not fully know if you got it because of you or if you got it because of that. That's the problem. You guys can't grasp that though.
Something on you. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Okay, look, it is an option for Donald Trump to respect his voters and not scapegoat race in a situation like that. He chooses not to every time. Why?
He is saying, and I do not defend him, and I've not defended him on this program, because there are things that are more important than Republican and Democrat, and it's why some people lost primaries and some people are not members of Congress anymore I'm trying to tell you the truth.
Look, you don't have to listen. I just won my
Hold
primary,
on,
but you don't have to lecture me.
Hold on,
Would you let me
Mondare. Let me let him
finish?
finish.
I mean, if you're gonna throw shots,
Mondare, just a second. Let me let him finish.
This is why this show is such a challenge for me, because I really am, and I've been on this show and criticized him many times. I've been on this show and praised him. In the end, how do we get beyond how we look? How do we get beyond how we sound? Because in the end, we all have a right to a point of view, and I respect yours, regardless.
I just don't respect the gaslighting and the bad faith conversation.
I also think you can.
Yeah, that didn't happen, but you're a freaking buffoon. This dude's an idiot. You're not even trying to have a conversation. You just want to propagate your points and vilify any opposition. That's what you're doing. These guys out here humbly saying, I respect your view. I'm just trying to say this. And you're interrupting, you're being rude, dismissing, calling him names, treating bad faith, gaslighting. He's not doing any of that. That's what you're doing.
You cannot talk about getting beyond all of those things, race, hyphens, whatever it is, when at the highest offices of the land, you have someone saying, because there is diversity, there is a lack of merit, there is a lack of quality, there is a lack of experience. That is a racist view.
Not because there's diversity. It's because DEI programs that are being put in businesses that are forcing people to have certain quotas of certain demographics to be in those positions solely because they are within those demographics. It's not racist to know that you're more qualified than someone else and know that you're better at the job than someone else, and then know that they got it over you because of something that has to be implemented in a business structure because of the DEI programs that have been created. Like, that's the problem. It's causing unnecessary contention amongst racists because you don't know why if someone got it for whatever reason. And it's not saying to treat anyone, because ultimately you don't really know. Maybe there are cases where the black person was a better person. I mean, there probably are. Of course there are, because people are all individualistic, and some people are smarter, and race is no determining factor on your intelligence. So it's just like, of course, there's probably situations where it wasn't DEI, and unfortunately that person was accused of it. But that's the problem with DEI to begin with. The fundamental issue with DEI for me is that I could have been the best person for the job. I could be the smartest person for the job, and I got it. But because the program is in place, someone's going to assume that I wasn't worthy of it. And that's the problem with it to begin with. One of the many problems with it. So it's not racist, but nice try to spin this is what they spin and move the goalposts all the time to try and victimize themselves in every scenario.
That people who have characteristics that they cannot change about them, that don't tell you anything about their intellect, about their experience, are by definition not experienced. Do you understand that?
I do, because I listen to this, I hear this, and I internalize it. And for those who feel like they're being marginalized, we have to do more. I agree with you.
It's not even just about being marginalized. It's just about recognizing
I just said I agree with you.
I know. I'm saying, but look, I'm not trying to use academic. I'm not trying to use academic language to talk about this. I'm just saying that there are people. Look, a couple days ago, there was a Harvard-educated Olympic track star was told that she wasn't qualified to have gone to Harvard. That she was basically a DEI admit to Harvard. I mean, that's just from a human perspective.
That's wrong.
That is
we
wrong,
all agree
right?
that's wrong.
May I ask you a question about this?
We all agree with that, but there's nothing I can say to you on this panel for any of you that's going to satisfy you.
No. May I ask you a question about this?
That's the problem.
So you're saying Americans felt alienated by the way Democrats talked about some of these things?
Yes.
Okay. But do you think that this is the antidote? I think that's the question here. I mean, you can be critical of terms that Democrats have used, but it's not clear to me how this approach is better. In fact, it seems exponentially worse to be scapegoating, whether it's hyphenated Americans or otherwise, any group of Americans for this tragedy, to be purging government data from websites under the guise of DEI and rooting out wokeness. I guess that's where I think there's a bit of a disconnect here. It's like,
I agree with you.
Okay.
I agree with you. And you're probably surprised. That's the goal in all of this. How do we get to the point when we are judged by our merit, when you're judged by our performance? I've had two experiences. Number one is my house almost burned down in Brentwood. I wasn't even there to see it. And I want the best people possible to be on the front lines fighting that fire. I landed 55 minutes before this plane landed. I could have been on it. So I feel it. I hear this and I get it. And you're correct and you're correct. The question is, do we beat up on it and yell about it and complain, or do we try to get a solution? Do we try to get beyond it? And the problem is, there's nothing I can say that's going to convince you.
But in order for us to get beyond it, Donald Trump and the woke right, they have to stop talking about it. The reason that we're talking about it is because it was a deliberate decision that the Trump administration made. I would much rather be talking about the economy and some of the other things that I know that the Donald Trump administration is going to do, but we're not in the now second week of the Trump administration. We are ending it talking about DEI because this was a decision that they made.
And to be clear, our discussion of it is not out of nowhere. It's not something we created out of whole cloth. It doesn't mean that we're harping on something that the American people would rather we not talk about. It is responding directly to something that happened.
And the only person who, to your point, injected race into this is Donald Trump. We could be having a very normal investigation into a national tragedy, comforting these families. But this is the conversation that not only do they want to have, but they are making it the only conversation around what happened here. And that is not just wrong from a moral perspective, but it's also a missed opportunity to keep Americans safe.
I don't think that is even true. The Trump made about race. DEI, wasn't it white guys that were piloting the plane for DC? Anyway, discussion. It's irrelevant. The point is, if we're talking about DEI, it's talking about how to dismantle it. He just, like you just pointed out, he just started his new term as president. This administration is just getting the ball rolling on what they're going to be doing for the next 4 years. And so, yes, we're going to have to address all the problems that have been created from this previous administration and shift and change them. That's called being transparent with the American people on what's going on. And it's like, it's so funny because they say stop talking about it. They want it to go away. I believe that's what they said. It's interesting because when Morgan Freeman said the same thing about racism and everyone focused, you guys said, no, we're going to ignore Morgan Freeman's advice on best way to stop racism and stop talking about it. And all you do is talk about it. Even in this panel, you're talking about racism, racist. You're racist. Do you not think it's racist when you see a black person in a prominent position, or when you see them having a job, and or you see that they got a scholarship at Harvard or whatever? And is it not racist to assume that it's DEI? How is it racist to assume it's DEI when DEI programs are in place to literally usurp black people or minorities or marginalized groups over white people? How is that racist? It's something that has been put in place and implemented within the structure of education and in the workplace. How is that racist? That's something that happens. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. It's frustrating, and it does suck to know that if I get something, people might think I only got it because I was black. Yeah, that sucks. But you propagated that. You wanted it to be a thing. So over this, man. If you enjoyed this video, comment down your thoughts below. I want to know your guys' thoughts. Abby Phillips is probably one of the most insufferable people on CNN, but I low-key like her though. But she's very annoying. But I like her. It's weird. It's a weird thing. I do have a lot of people. I'm like, you're dumb, but I like you. Maybe it's just an entertainment value. Maybe I'm just so used to like consuming this content that she's like a friend. Who knows? Anyways, comment down your thoughts below. I can't wait to see you guys on the next one. Peace.